Hi, I'm Hank Huffnagel. Let me show you how to use Symmetoy2, a little symmetric art program. When the program first starts out, you see this triangular grid on the screen, and the center element of the grid is green. This is called the green zone, and I can turn it on or off by clicking this button over here. The green zone on any grid that is displayed is where you should be doing your drawing. This green button, as I said, lets me change that. If I right-click this button, it lets me change the green zone to be a different color, in fact. And you can know that by looking down here for instructions anytime your mouse is over a button. Okay, so if I were to draw a line, it's reproduced across the grid. This trash can allows me to erase my entire picture. But if I have been working on a picture a while and just want to get rid of recent strokes that I've added, I can click Undo here. If I undo too far, I can click Redo here. This button redraws the entire picture, and you won't use it very often. Okay, so I can undo everything that's been done, and now we're ready to actually start doing some art here. These 4-bit buttons allow me to select the type of symmetric art I want to work on: triangular, square, hexagonal, or a polygon. I'll stick with triangular, but I want to modify the grid so that as I draw a line here, it draws lines in from the other two sides as well, and it does that across the whole triangular grid. So what I will get when I draw a line here is lines swerving in from all directions. What I'm shooting here is like a woody vine, so that's the wrong color. I want it to be brown, not red. To change the color, this button shows what you'll get if you click and drag with the left mouse button, and this shows what you get with the right mouse button. To change these colors, one way is to click on them, and that brings up this color wheel. I can click into the color wheel and find a color that I want, like so. Notice I can click over here, and I can also drag up and down to get a different hue. That gets me that brown. And now I'll turn the green zone on briefly. Notice how it disappears between strokes, but that's good, not bad, as it lets you have a real understanding of what you're doing as you draw. That's pretty good. Now I'll add a leaf to this. So there's the color I want. Another way to pick up colors is to just click them in the palette here, and you can change the palette by clicking here, but I won't get into that. I'll click green. See, it's green. Okay, I want to change my brush size, so let's go with this size brush. And now I'll draw a leaf. This light green I'll use to be the vein of the leaf, and I'll switch to a smaller brush size by clicking there, and using my right mouse button I'll add the veins of that leaf. Okay, now I want to add a flower over top of that leaf, and this time I want a pretty big brush. If I click on any of these buttons, including this one, and drag up and down, it lets me dynamically set the size of my brush. So I'll set it to that size. I'll select red as the color, and I'll draw a petal here. I'll select yellow. We'll go with that for the center of the flower. I can just drag it around. That's pretty good. And then I'll give it a little red veining in the center. I'll use, to this point I've been using sketch mode, which is this, but let me use straight line mode for adding the veining. By clicking that, I select straight line mode, and then when I drag, we see that a straight line appears, and I can drag around until I release, and then that line becomes permanent. So that's pretty good. The one other command in this column of 3 is fill mode. In fill mode, I'll click it. If I select a color, say light blue, and click in an area, it flood fills that color into that area. Now, the mode that we're currently working with is called smoothing mode, and when we're in smoothing mode, filling often generates disappointing results. You see all these little foolishness around the edges? If I turn smoothing mode off, which is down here, we see that I now get a much better fill, but the edges of the drawing look grainier. So that's the trade-off. Typically, if you want to use smoothing mode, you're probably not going to be using fill. Here, let me undo that. That's how I tend to do most of my things, but if you do want to use fill a lot, just turn smoothing mode off and it'll work just fine. Okay, we are selecting the sketch button again. I may as well cover this button here. To this point, we've been doing symmetric drawing. Everything I do in the green zone gets reproduced elsewhere. Sometimes you don't want that. You just want to touch up individual little spots. To turn that off and select a color, you just click this button and select the color, select a brush size, and now we see that everywhere I draw, it's just drawing one time instead of symmetrically. So that's what that's for. Get rid of all that. Oh, what else is there to know? The last way you might select a color is by clicking on this eyedropper and dragging your mouse around until you find the color you want. Say this brown, I wanted to get it back. There, I got it back using the eyedropper. What's that leave? These two. If I left-click this button, it turns the grid off. Not half bad. If I click it again, it comes back on. Or I can change the color of the grid by right-clicking and selecting a new color for that grid, say purple, and now we see the grid color is purple. Well, I hate that. I think I'll just turn the grid off. This last button is the background color, and as before, if I click it, I'm allowed to select a color for the background, and we see that our picture appears on that background. Well, that's not half bad. I could just print what I've got right now by clicking Print here, or I could save it up here by clicking File and Save the Picture, which saves the picture in a form that I can modify later on. Save an image, which saves your picture as a bitmap or a PNG or a JPEG file. I can copy that image to the clipboard where it can be loaded into other Paint programs. I can email the image to a friend. You can email the image to me. If it's a masterpiece, I'd be very curious to see what you come up with. These other things, well, Printer Setup lets you tell the program which printer to print on when you use the Print button. Options, well, you can look into that on your own. Exit will get rid of the program, turn it off, make it go away. We don't want that. So Print would print on the selected printer. That's all there is to know, except perhaps the most fun thing about the program is I can change the size of the grid now by clicking these little buttons to the right of the numbers is the best way. Now my grid's quite large, and when I click OK, the program reproduces the drawing using the much larger grid. I just turned off the green zone there. So that's not a half bad piece of art. I could save that, and there you go. So I think you know enough to take a run at using Symmetoy2 for yourself now, and that's what you should do next.